Yo, what's up everyone? Today is a very special episode. It's the NES episode. So for me, this is one of my most impressive collections that I'm impressed I even have. This isn't all of it because I'm not doing the whole collection in one video. It's a lot of work. But I'm already doing more than I expected in this one. But before we make this a long intro, we gotta let you guys know that this was the first Nintendo console in America. So in Japan, there was the Famicom and maybe the Game & Watches, but this is the American version of the Japanese Famicom. And I do have some cartridges, but I don't have them now. So remember guys, this is the beginning of a lot of the classic series that you guys know and love. You know, whether it's from Smash Bros or just Nintendo series in general. But alright guys, let's do it. Alright, so we're gonna go with this first stack here. Boom. And I've actually made a video about these before. This one specifically with the worst box art of all time. But more importantly, this is the one that started it all. So this is Mega Man 1. And then we have arguably the even better game, Mega Man 2. So back in the day, I played Mega Man 2 a lot more, but nowadays I like Mega Man 1, especially speed running it, and it's got some fun glitches. But here's my whole Mega Man collection. So we have Mega Man 1 and 2, then I had 3, 4, and 5, but it even goes up to 6. So I don't have 6, I gotta complete that collection one day. But these are platformers, kind of like Mario, except Mega Man has the Mega Buster. And every boss, he gets a new power-up. Every level, you could play in any order you want, but there's a good order to get the power-ups in and then beat the game. But everybody should play Mega Man on NES. These are good games to play for the NES. These hold up the test of time, and these are on every system ever. Made by Capcom, of course, the creators of Street Fighter, and this is early too. This is the NES. This is before Street Fighter. Alright guys, next games we're gonna get into are right here. So these are two RPGs, made by the creators of Final Fantasy. But technically before Final Fantasy, and before they were even called Square Enix. Here they're just called Enix. But this is Dragon Warrior, but in Japan it's called Dragon Quest. And the artwork and the monster designs are by the creator of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama. But back in the day, this was before they started using, the anime art style. But these games are amazing. I've actually beat them both, but in the more remastered versions. And I definitely recommend, some of the remade versions, whether it's on your phone or on other systems, because the graphics and gameplay have improvements. But even after I beat those original versions, I did want to go back and play the originals, and something to appreciate is the original pixel art, especially when you get into a RPG battle. But guys, that's Dragon Quest. There's actually more Dragon Warrior NES games. This is just 1 and 2, but there's also 3 and 4 on the NES. But for some reason in America, they didn't bring over Dragon Warrior on Super Nintendo. It was a break from the NES until PlayStation, or technically Game Boy. But alright guys, we're gonna get through the rest of this stack here. So next we have, boom, the Disney games on NES. So we have Mickey Mousecapade, which is another platformer game, where you make jumps, but you're playing as Mickey Mouse. And then here, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. So this is actually on new systems, and I've played it on that Disney collection, but I can't figure out this game too much. That and Darkwing Duck, I had to look up walkthroughs for it. But the Disney games on NES are good games, and they're also made by Capcom, the creators of Mega Man and Street Fighter, and that shows you that these are good choices. Alright guys, the next games that we're talking about here, Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt. And then we have Super Mario 2. So this is the game that everybody knows. When you think of Mario, you think of this game, the original graphics. Everything started with this. But this was also the game that came with the NES system. It came with Mario and Duck Hunt, the game where you would shoot the ducks with the zapper. But then they came out with Mario 2. So Mario 2 in Japan is actually a different game. And this game is actually known as Mario USA because they took another game, Doki Doki Panic, and they turned it into this Mario game. Because the Mario 2 in Japan was too close to the original, so they changed it. So the Mario 2 that we know, and maybe you've played, wasn't originally a Mario game. But it's still a good game. I originally played it on the Game Boy Advance. And this game actually does have a lot of improvements. Like if you think about it, Mario 1 did a lot of side scrolling. Mario 2 actually has vertical scrolling. And in Mario 2, you can play as Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad. It introduces Shy Guy and Birdo and so much crazy stuff. Maybe even Bob-omb. And of course, this game introduces Mario and Bowser and the Goombas and Koopas and Mario 1 and 2, but that's not the last Mario game on the NES. I don't know if we're going to see that one in this episode. Alright guys, here are some games that I might not have as much to say about. This is a classic NES game, Rad Racer. I think this game even has a 3D mode. When you think of the NES, you think of Rad Racer. This game has just been referenced in everything so many times. Rad Racer. It's actually, the gameplay is a lot like Outrun, but these are the early NES graphics, very early NES graphics. And then we have here classic NES adventure. This is actually from HAL. So HAL would go on to make Super Smash Bros. You know, with Masahiro Sakurai. But this is one of their first games, The Adventures of Lolo. So this is more of a puzzle game, from what I remember at least. But it's a good game. I think there's Adventures of Lolo 2. The NES is awesome. You gotta love these cartridges, the artwork. Speaking of artwork, alright, so here are some original games. So this is a black box game, or black label, meaning that this was one of the first games released on the NES. And this guy is actually a famous Smash Bros. Melee character. Again, came back to Ultimate. The Ice Climbers, Nana and Popo. This is where it all started. They were in their own game. And when I finally played this game, it's actually fire, but it's kind of hard. But it's actually a lot like that Smash Bros. Stage in Melee, where you got to keep jumping up and you're on the mountain. Ice Climbers. Alright guys, so next on the list, Kid Icarus. So is this another OG game? Because this is kind of like the black box, but it's silver. But this is another character that when Smash Bros. Brawl came out, Pit was back, Kid Icarus was back. And this game is ahead of its time, man. Not only are you horizontally scrolling, you're vertically scrolling, you have boss battles, you could fly. This guy, he's got superpowers compared to Mario. This guy could fly, he's got the bow and arrow. Kid Icarus is ahead of its time, and there's really not that many games in the series. There's this game, and then the 3DS game that I can think about. But this game is really ahead of its time. Alright guys, next up, we have another game by Capcom. Ghouls and Ghosts. Or is this Ghosts and Goblins? This is Ghosts and Goblins. Honestly, I don't even know what the difference is with the different naming. Is it because this is the first one and the next one is the sequel? Or is it because of different console releases? I don't know, but this game is actually really hard. This game is a hard game. Even me, I can't even get past maybe even the first level, or maybe that's as far as I've gotten. But this guy, he's also in Marvel vs. Capcom. This is the famous character Arthur, that even Ryu has Arthur costumes sometimes in some of the games in Street Fighter. But this is the original NES version, made by Capcom, the creators of Street Fighter, Mega Man, and so many other awesome games. But this is one of the games that they're known for. So it's another side-scrolling game, but You use a bunch of weapons, whether it's like a javelin or an axe. It's an awesome game. It's an awesome game. What can I compare it to? Maybe like Metal Slug? Or even Mega Man a little bit? Oh man, for me to talk about this next game, alright, I already see the game that I need to go with it. Alright guys, here we go. So we got one gold cartridge and one regular cartridge. Here we have The Legend of Zelda, the one that started it all, man. Wow, the one that started it all. And Zelda 2. So both of these games could have had a gold cartridge, I'm pretty sure at least. And they're actually very different games. It's kind of like with Mario 1 and Mario 2. I guess the thought process was, alright, you already bought one game, you can go back and play it if you want to play something like that. Let's make the second one different. So Zelda 1 is a top-down adventure game. But Zelda 2 is actually a side-scrolling adventure game with the side view rather than the top-down view. And they tried to get really ambitious with this game. They had an overworld, kind of like an RPG, and you could enter towns and it would change, you know, gameplay and point of view. And you could even go to dungeons, and that's where the action would really happen. But Zelda 1 was just all action all the time. Maybe like the first open world game ever, and it really did it well. And you know, this game just throughout generations, people remember this game. People remember the mysteries, the adventure, the maps, the manuals. Zelda 1 and Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, the ones that started it all. There was no Zelda 3 on the NES. There was only 2 Zelda games. So the third Zelda would be on the Super Nintendo as A Link to the Past. Alright guys, so next we have, by Konami, Castlevania. So when you think of Castlevania, you think of the NES games or the Super Nintendo games, or maybe even the PlayStation games or the GBA games. But this is the one that started it all. Castlevania with Simon Belmont. This guy is now in Smash Bros. But this is probably the Castlevania game I played the most. I actually don't think I have number 2, Simon's Quest. And I always wanted number 3, Dracula's Curse. Because that game looks so good. But Castlevania 1 is the one I have and the one I played the most. And that might be the case for a lot of people. This might be the one that people remember. Alright guys, so I made it through a lot of games in this video. But I still think I might need to cut this in to part 2. So check it out next time where I cover the rest of these games. And even after that, we have a lot more NES. And then we're even going to review other systems, PlayStation, GameCube, so much stuff. And then I even have reviews already on my channel for N64, PS1, Super Nintendo if you want to see what comes after this. So check that out. But I gotta cut this video short. It's gonna be a lot for me to edit and add all the special effects. But I'll see you guys next time. This was me, GOCARLO, and I got to talk about some of my NES collection, so I'm really happy about that. Thanks a lot, guys. Until next time.